Hey, hi there. I've been using Mainstage for years now on tour with bands. I've kind of picked up a couple of things, a couple of tricks along the way, just trying to work out how to make it work for me. So this I'm just going to talk about aliases. A lot of you will be familiar with aliases, but I've got a sort of particular way of doing it that brings a lot of flexibility back to your aliases that some of you might not know. So hang in for the juice. For those that don't know what an alias is, it's basically a ghost copy. So if a typical one would be a piano, this is one of the native instruments, pianos. If I loaded that up every time I needed a piano, I'm going to use a lot of memory, a lot of CPU with multiple instances of that piano loaded up. Instead, I'll use aliases, and that means I only need to load the piano once, and all the aliases are going to reference that instead. So what we're going to do, edit, copy, go down into this empty one that I've made, edit, paste as alias, bang. Now that's great. Now we've got that one, which is not using any extra resources. Yeah, it's just referencing this one. Problem is, anything I do in the source one will be replicated in the alias one. Anything that I change in this channel strip. And vice versa. If I change something in the alias here, it's going to pop up in the plain one. So let's say for this piano, I want to have a nice bright piano. Need a bright one for this. Bit of Hornsby, bit of something. There's my bright piano. I've cranked the EQ up in the top end. I go back to my plain one. Now I've got a bright piano there as well. Don't want it. Take it out. Go back to my alias one. It's gone. Yep. And that's true of anything. The sends, any inserts, the MIDI effects, the output routings, I think even pan. Yeah, no, it didn't do pan. That's an exception. But everything else, it's going to mess with you. So here's what we do. Bit of audio busing to get some flexibility back into our aliases. Because I might want this one to be plain, I might want this one to be bright, I might want lots of reverb on this one, no reverb. So what we're going to do is create an audio track. What you do is you go into your bus here and just choose an unassigned bus. Yeah, you're going to send it out your main outputs. Now, your audio, your instrument channel here, instead of sending out the main outputs, send that to the bus. Oh, by the way, when you do this, do it on the source channel, the one that you're aliasing from. For some reason, Mainstage creates a whole lot of auxiliary channels if you try to do it in the alias one instead. So do it here. Set it up in here. Now, when I play here, the piano is playing, but instead of going to the main outputs, it's going into this channel via this bus here. Yep. We'll leave that plain at the moment. We're going to set up the same thing in here. And the busing's already done because I changed it in here and that changed it in here. So we're all good to go. Pretty quick, right? Now, see what I can do. Because I've got it bussed out to a separate audio channel, I can now get my high EQ going here. What else can we do? We can, let's put a bunch of reverb on it. Again, if I'd done this on the audio channel, on the instrument channel here, it would be replicated back in my piano playing song. Cool, there's our bright reverby piano. Yep, we go back to here. Playing piano. Why? Because these two channels here that we're using, that channel there is not aliased. Yep, we can do anything that we want with that. It's independent. It's not really using any resources. It's certainly not loading up a whole other piano library or anything like that. All we're doing is sending a bit of EQ and send something to a reverb that's sitting there ready to go. Great. So now that means I can, out of this plain piano here, I can make any piano I need, pretty much. If I need a dull piano, something a bit more like an upright, I can just turn the top end of the EQ down. I can put it through a bit of tape simulation. I can do different reverbs. I can, etc., etc. Now, one thing that we can't do yet is independent MIDI processing. All the basic stuff, you absolutely can. These, the layer editor and this stuff that happens in here is independent of aliasing because it's not part of the channel strip. But if you want to use a MIDI plugin, which I often end up needing to do, you can't do it. It's part of the channel strip. If I had added a MIDI effect into here, it will also appear in the alias version. So we need to set up a little bit of MIDI routing as well. That will give us, now we've got full audio independence of our aliases. We can do anything we want with them and have 20 wildly different piano sounds, all from that one source bit of material there. We want to do the same thing with our MIDI. So I'm going to add a channel strip, and this one's going to be MIDI. External MIDI. Yeah. Let's just call it, just so we know which ones are which. There's our piano out. Here's our piano MIDI. Yeah. Now, the way that this is going to work is we're going to route the output. I'll show you. There's the input. That's just my external keyboard, effectively. The output of this, we're going to send out an IAC driver. I'll send it out bus 1 of the IAC driver. And for those that you don't know the IAC driver, I'll show you in a moment how to set that up. Then over here, we need to receive on that same IAC driver, bus 1. Yep. Now, we'll do the same thing here. Right, just done exactly the same thing. Now, my MIDI is coming in here. Piano MIDI. It's the MIDI, mate. You've got your piano MIDI, mate. And this is our piano out. Yep. So my MIDI is coming in here from my external keyboard. It's going out through the IAC bus driver 1. It's being received through the IAC bus driver 1 over here on our instrument channel. Right? Now that means that we can now do some MIDI processing that's completely independent of the alias again. So let's put a chord trigger on, just so that this is me doing my jazz house anthem. Cool. Then we go back to our plain piano. No chord trigger, right? It's just exactly what we want. Now I use chord trigger quite a bit, and I'll do a little thing on it sometime in the future. I use it mostly to organize the ranges of sounds. I often have to fit a lot of sounds on one keyboard, and I can't do it just using the layer editor in here. It's a bit more complicated what I need to do. So I use chord trigger a lot for that, just to shift notes around and add an octave to 2 notes in the whole stinking scale, or whatever I need to do to make it possible for me to play 7 parts of an Ice House song on one 61 note keyboard. So how do you set up the IAC bus driver? For those of you that don't know, the rest of you, that in a nutshell is it. If you know about the IAC bus driver, you can go watch videos of cats playing pianos or whatever it is that you do now. For everyone else, just hang around. I'll quickly show you what we've got. So that IAC bus driver, you need to go into the utilities part of this. It's not a logic thing. Tell you what, I'll be kind to you. I'll just take you there via the Finder. Go Applications. Go down to your Utilities. Yeah, Audio MIDI Setup. That's the guy that you need. Yeah. Now, that's the audio part. We're looking at the audio part. If you go into the window, say Show MIDI Studio, bang, and you'll have one of these. Yep. It's an internal thing that's in all Mac computers. And what it is a way of sending MIDI around between programs and within a program. So double click on the ISE driver. Now you might not have any buses here. There's a little plus button down here. Just keep hitting the plus button. I've got 8 of them here. I've never used 8. I think the most I've ever used is like 3 or 4, but it doesn't matter. I've got 8 sitting there ready to go. Once you've done that, you're all done. Now you've got 8 more virtual MIDI cables that you can use inside of Mainstage, or even to send MIDI from an other program into Mainstage, or from Mainstage into another program, or whatever you like. So again, just go in there, select one of your IAC buses that you've created. Then over here, you select that as your MIDI input, same bus. Yep. Yeah, I've done that there as well. Exactly the same thing. Yep. So that means now I've got full MIDI independence and full audio independence. Even though I'm sharing this same piano for everything, they can all be completely different. And so on and so on and so on. So you can do that for anything that is big memory or CPU hog, like some electric pianos, of course, your brass, maybe your strings, and you'll be able to get as much flexibility as you need just out of running the same plugin in alias mode all over the shop. Okay, that's it. Bye.